Hey there guys, and welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for joining me in this episode of Review Flex. So, we're going to be talking about director Robert Eggers. Obviously, he's just come off the fantastic revival of the Nosferatu franchise. That movie is just insanely good. I watched it last night and I had a great time with it. Gothic horror, taking the vampire kind of mythology back to its roots, and he did a fantastic job. And it looks like we now have information as to what Robert Eggers' next movie is going to be, and it looks like he's going from vampires to werewolves. So this is really, really exciting news. After Nosferatu, like I say, I can't wait to see what he does with a werewolf type of character. So let's get into this information, let's break it down, and let's see what we can learn about Robert Eggers' next movie. This comes to us from Joe Blow. So, Werewolf, Robert Eggers to direct a werewolf movie that's set for Christmas 2026 release. So, Robert Eggers is set to direct a 13th century creature feature called Werewolf for Focus Features, aiming for a Christmas 2026 release. I could not be more excited about this. I will say the one thing about Nosferatu, I was quite surprised with the appearance, the actual kind of aesthetic and the look of how they went for the design of Count Orlok. It wasn't what I expected, but now that I've had time to kind of percolate and sit on the design, I kind of understand what they were going for. And in the shadows, when you kind of see the silhouette of the character, his booming voice, his presence, and the kind of the pure evil that pours out of that character of Nosferatu, they did a fantastic job. And if they can bring that same kind of aesthetic and that kind of scary, creepy atmosphere to a werewolf-like story, man, we're going to be in for a good, another good movie from Robert Eggers, I think. So anyway, let's get into this information. So The Witch, The Lighthouse, and The Northman, writer-director Robert Eggers. Just going on a side note at the moment, this guy made The Witch, incredible movie. He made The Lighthouse, another incredible movie. The Northman, again, incredible. This guy's track record for movies, Robert Eggers, man, he's becoming one to watch in Hollywood. He's such a great director, and he's done fantastic movies so far. So, Robert Eggers' remake of F.W. I never know how to say this, Moranu's 1922 silent classic Nosferatu made its way out to theaters last month and has stirred up a lot of positive reactions. By the way, I'm sorry if I mispronounced the original director's name. I don't know how to say it properly. So, Nosferatu made its way into theaters last month and stirred up a lot of positive reactions, with Joe Blow's own Chris Bumbray even describing the film as a new horror classic with a 10 out of 10 review. I'm not sure I would go 10 out of 10 if I had to give it a personal review myself. I would definitely say it's around about the 8 or 9 out of 10. Like, it's absolutely pretty damn incredible. I think there could be a few small improvements and tweaks, but that's just my personal preference there to get it out, to make it up to a 10 out of 10 movie for myself. But I could understand why someone would give this a 10 out of 10 movie. Talking about Nosferatu. So, Focus Features released Nosferatu on Christmas Day, and now The Hollywood Reporter has broken the news that Eggers has decided to reteam with Focus Features. So, he's reteaming with the same people that helped him make Nosferatu for his next film, a creature feature called Werewolf, and Focus is looking to replicate the success of Nosferatu by releasing Werewolf on Christmas Day in 2026. So, he's reteaming with the same people to make this werewolf movie that he did Nosferatu with. And they're going back to do another Christmas release as well. So, can they repeat the success of Nosferatu? I mean, let's go over it and look at the numbers quickly. So, Nosferatu 2024, domestic box office made 90 million, international box office made 66 million, and a worldwide total of 156 million. And that's on a budget of a $50 million production budget for this movie. So, this movie, at the end of the day, is going to end up being profitable. Okay, we're not talking about Marvel numbers, like billions of dollars here, but for a $50 million budget movie, I mean, it's done pretty well for itself, and I think it's going to have a great release when it comes to like digital streaming and stuff like that. People are going to get onto it, and I think it's going to do really great when it comes to the, the video on demand kind of market. So, let's go back over to the article quickly. So, Nosferatu has made over 156 million at the global box office so far. Eggers has written the screenplay for Werewolf with Sojon. I'm not sure how you say that. I do apologize. With John. I'm just going to call him John. So he's written the screenplay for Werewolf with John, his co-writer on the Viking saga The Northman, so he's going back and working with someone who he worked with on the Northman movie. Details are being kept under wraps, but the Hollywood Reporter sources tell them. The story, this is where it gets interesting, so the story is set in the 13th century England. The script also features dialogue that was true to the time period and has translations and annotations for those uninitiated to Old English. Initially, Eggers was planning on shooting the feature in black and white, but this is no longer the case. Suffice to say that considering the setting and the dialect, Eggers is promising another deep dive into a muddy, costumed and violent time period consistent with the overture, which has earned him a loyal film following. Yeah, I mean, this is this guy's wheelhouse, doing these kind of time period pieces, but kind of making like the horror gothic aesthetic in these time pieces. He did it with The Witch, he's done it with Nosferatu, and now doing it with the Werewolf movie as well. I mean, I think we could be in for something special here. But the fact here that it says, this is quite interesting, because it says here, they were going to shoot the movie in black and white, but they decided that, you know, this is no longer the case. I could understand why they would shy away from that. I mean, as a pure film fan and looking at a werewolf movie in black and white, I think it would be really, really incredible. But I can understand for the more wider going movie audience, if you hear a movie is in black and white, it might turn a lot of people off to watching it. The general everyday movie going audience, you hear a movie's in black and white, you're kind of like, do I really want to sit and watch a black and white film? A lot of people wouldn't. Myself, as a horror fan, I would absolutely love it. But a lot of people may be turned off, and that's probably part of the reason they decided to go back and shoot it in color. But I think they should go the route of what they did with Godzilla Minus One. They had Godzilla Minus One. They obviously had the original version, which was in color, but then they came out with a very special formatted black and white version. Maybe they could do something like that for this movie, kind of have like a special black and white kind of limited release version of the movie for kind of like horror purists who want to see it in that kind of format. Maybe that's something that they might do. We'll have to wait and see. So, the fact that it's set in 13th century England as well, with the Old English dialect, that's going to be kind of cool. But being an Englishman myself, the old dialect, even I don't really understand it. So people abroad are going to have a really hard time understanding it. So we'll have to wait and see how they go with that as well. So Eggers and John are producing Werewolf with Focus Features. Chris and Eleanor Columbus, who worked with Eggers on Nosferatu, will serve as executive producers. So it looks like they've got the entire team back to basically work on this Werewolf movie, which absolutely makes sense. I mean, you've got a winning recipe with the Nosferatu team and the release date of a Christmas release. Do a Christmas release for this Werewolf movie and bring back the Nosferatu team, but just work on this Werewolf movie. And it sounds like a recipe for success. So, we recently had a rumour that Eggers has closed a deal to co-write and direct the new film. They're set in the world of the 1986 classic Labyrinth. This project has been in development for years, having previously passed through the hands of director Fede Alvarez and Scott Derrickson. And if Eggers is going to make it, apparently he's going to do it after he's finished making this Werewolf movie. The director has also admitted that he thought about making a Frankenstein movie, but gave up on that idea. Does Werewolf sound interesting to you? Share your thoughts on this new Robert Eggers project by leaving a comment below. So that's kind of where we are. So there's not much else to go on. Obviously, it's very, very early days. This movie doesn't come out until 2026, the Christmas period in 2026. But I mean, if you've seen Nosferatu, then you can understand why a lot of people will be so excited to see Robert Eggers switch from the vampire genre into the werewolf kind of genre. And if he can bring the success and the recipe and everything he did with Nosferatu and the vampire kind of feature, and then kind of inject that into a werewolf movie, then man, I think we're going to be in for something really, really incredible, and count myself as very, very interested in the production of this project. So guys, I throw it off to you. What do you think about this? Have you seen Nosferatu? What did you think of it? And after seeing Nosferatu, would you be excited to see the director of that movie, Robert Eggers, now switch from vampire to a werewolf movie? Would you be excited to see that? Guys, jump down in the comment section and let me know your thoughts, comments, and opinions on that. As always, thanks so much for being here. Make sure you hit that like button before you leave, and consider becoming a subscriber of the channel if you haven't already. It goes a long way to supporting the content, so I'd really, really appreciate that. And as always, I will see you in the next video.